What's up everyone, Sir Janus here, and welcome to another episode of Einsteinatics TV. What we are going to focus on for today is on Science 7, Quarter 2, Module 1, A and B. Ano nga ba yung nilalaman ng module na to? This focuses on parts and functions of a microscope. Kabilang na rin yung computation for the magnification and yung proper use of microscopes. So are you ready? Ano nga ba yung mga objectives natin for today's video? Yung mga main objective natin is, of course, after going through this video, you are expected to identify the parts and functions of the microscopes. Yung ikalawa naman is to focus a specimen using the compound microscope based on the given steps. Specifically, you would try to identify yung three main parts of a compound microscope, describe the functions of each part of the microscope, draw and label the compound microscope. Yung ikaapat is to familiarize the steps in focusing specimen using the compound microscope, at yung panghuli is to determine the magnification of a specimen seen under the microscope. It all started with Anton van Leeuwenhoek. Siya yung unang gumamit ng simple microscope. He had made to observe such things such as blood, rainwater, and teeth scrapings. In 1675, naobserbahan niya yung mga single-celled organisms in a drop of pond water na tinawag niyang animalcules. Because of his contribution to science, although meron pa sa kanyang mas nauna, he is considered to be now the father of microscopy and microbiology. He built simple light microscope, meaning one lens only, and using improvement, it can multiply or magnify in microorganism 275 times. So ito yung kanyang simple microscope, and using this one, he viewed water and he noticed protists, worms, and others. He also observed blood and sperm. There are three types of microscope. Yung una, kagaya ng microscope ni Anton van Leeuwenhoek, ay tinatawag na simple microscope, meaning ito ay binubuo lamang ng isang lens. Yung ikalawang microscope naman ay tinatawag na compound microscope. Compound because it has two sets of lenses. It can magnify things 100 to 200 times larger than they really are. And yung modernized ngayon, or pinaka-modern na klase ng microscope ay yung tinatawag na electron microscope. So kung yung compound microscope is 100 to 200 times lang, yung electron microscope can magnify an object 300,000 times. And yung difference niya is they do not use lenses, but instead of lenses, gumagamit siya ngayon ng electrons para palakihin yung image. So here's an example of a simple microscope. So kabilang dyan yung magnifying glass, and of course yung microscope ni Anton van Leeuwenhoek. Another example is the compound microscope. The reason why tinatawag siyang compound microscope kasi dalawa yung lenses niya. Yung una is of course dito, yung sa eyepiece, and a combination with the magnification dito sa kanyang mga objectives. So pag-aaralan natin mamaya yan, especially sa computing for the magnification. And the last type of microscope is the electron microscope, na instead of lenses, gumagamit na siya ngayon ng mga electrons in order to enlarge an image. Now let's proceed to our main topic, which focuses on main parts of a microscope. Yung microscope is isa sa pinaka-importanteng kagamitan na ginagamit to study living things, specifically yung mga microorganisms na hindi kayang maobserbahan gamit yung dalawang mata natin or through our naked eye. A microscope is a tool which can help you see tiny objects and living organisms. Binubuo siya ng tatlong major parts, namely magnifying, illuminating, and mechanical parts. For the mechanical parts, ito yung mga parte ng compound microscope na ginagamit for support and of course, to adjust other parts. These include the base. The second one would be the body tube. Yung body tube houses the objectives, pati na rin yung the eyepiece or the ocular. You have also the coarse adjustment knob. Yung coarse adjustment knob, ito yung enables the body tube to move up and down. The fourth one would be the fine adjustment knob. Next is the inclination joint. So inclination, this allows the microscope to be tilted or pwede siyang i-move downward or medyo i-move yung kanyang position. The next one is the stage. So dito nilalagay yung glass slide or yung specimen for study. Next one is the stage clip. Itong mga clip na to, sinisecure niya ngayon yung glass slide para hindi matanggal. And of course, the next one, number 8, would be the nose piece, which houses now the objective. So yung nose piece ay pwede siyang iikot depending kung anong gagamitin mong objective. And the last one would be the arm, which holds, of course, yung upper part at saka yung lower part of the microscope. The second major part of the microscope is what you call as the illuminating parts. When we talk about illuminating parts, ito yung parte ng microscope na nagbibigay or nagpo-provide ng liwanag or light. Now, this one, yung ibang mga microscope is instead of mirror, meron dyang light source or light bulb which supplies now the needed or necessary illumination that would be needed by the microscope. So, illuminating parts, these are parts of the microscope which supplies the light and regulate light towards the focus specimen. The first one would be the diaphragm. If we are going to look at the diaphragm, meron siyang iba't ibang laki ng butas and this would now regulate or kumukontrol siya kung gaano karaming liwanag yung papasok sa microscope. The second one is the stage condenser. Yung stage condenser is also known as the aperture. So kung titingnan mo, ito yung butas sa gitna ng stage kung saan light would pass through from the mirror going through the specimen. And of course, the light source itself would be the mirror. Yung sinabi ko kanina, pwede yang maging light bulb or from sunlight yung magpo-provide ng illumination or liwanag through the microscope. The last major part of the microscope ay tinatawag na magnifying parts. So ito yung parte ng compound microscope that the specimen in focus appears larger. So ito yung mga parte ng microscope na nagpapalaki dun sa mga specimen in study. The first structure or the first piece or the first part of the magnifying parts are or is the eyepiece. Yung eyepiece is also known as the ocular. So dito mo titingnan when you are observing a specimen. The next one would be the objective lenses. Yung objective lenses, yung ibang mga compound microscope is merong 3, yung iba naman is merong 4. And these are the scanner, low power objective, high power objective, at saka yung oil immersion. But usually, yung mga compound microscopes, they have 3. After discussing about the major parts of the microscope, punta naman tayo sa iba't ibang parte ng microscope together with its function. The first part of a compound microscope is known as the ocular, or it is also known as the lens or the eyepiece. The lens of the microscope, this is where that you would look through when studying a specimen. So dito mo titingnan, lalong-lalo na pag nag-study ka ng specimen. The second part would be known as the coarse adjustment knob. Now, malalaman mo kaagad na ito yung coarse adjustment knob because it is the largest knob on the microscope. So ito yung ginagamit in order to bring the object into focus kasi kinokontrol niya yung draw tube. Yan, yung coarse adjustment knob controls the movement of the draw tube in order for it to bring a certain specimen into focus. Now, underneath the coarse adjustment knob is what you call as the fine adjustment knob. So, it is much smaller than the coarse adjustment knob, and that brings the image into focus, especially if you are using a high power objective. The fourth part of a compound microscope is known as the arm. So yung arm, ito yung part of the microscope that supports the body tube. The fifth part of the microscope is known as the body tube. So this is the part that holds the eyepiece together with the objective lenses. Next one would be now the nose piece. Sa baba ng body tube, makikita yung nose piece at ito yung nag-hold ng objective. Yung paggamit ng nose piece is that you are going to slowly rotate the nose piece until such time that it clicks. Meaning, yung objective na gagamitin mo is nasa tamang position. Now let's proceed to the microscope objectives. We are going to go through the three major parts of or the three types of objectives. Yung pinakauna is known as a high power objective. So this is the lens that magnifies the object the greatest amount. So usually sa mga microscope, it multiplies or magnifies an object 40 times. Now, malalaman mo that it is a high power objective kasi siya yung pinakamahaba doon sa mga objectives. The next one is the low power objective, or it is also known as the scanner. So this is the lens that magnifies the object the least amount. So usually, yung magnifying power niya lang is 3 or 4. And malalaman mo kaagad kasi siya yung pinakamaikli at pinakamataba doon among the objectives. And of course, the next one is the middle power objective lens, and this magnifies the object up to 10 times or 20 times. The next part of the microscope is known as the stage. Yung stage, kapansin-pansin siya kasi ito yung flat part below the objective. So sa stage, dito nilalagay yung mga specimen to be studied. On the stage is another part of a microscope known as a clip, or specifically a stage clip. Yung stage clip, this is the part that holds the slide in place so it doesn't move. So yung stage clip, ito yung ginagamit para hindi gumalaw or para hindi mahulog yung specimen that is being studied. Underneath the stage or sa ilalim ng stage is yung tinatawag na diaphragm. Yung diaphragm naman, as you can see, meron siyang iba't ibang klase or laki ng butas which now regulates kung gaano karaming liwanag yung papasok sa microscope. Okay, so let us proceed to the next set of parts of the microscope. Next would be the light source. Yung light source, it could either be a lamp or a mirror. So this is located underneath the stage, and this would be now is responsible to send light through the object being viewed. And of course, the last one would be the base. So this would be now the bottom part that supports the rest of the microscope. So kung titingnan natin, yung liwanag ay tatama sa mirror, and this would be now passed on to the condenser, and eventually it would reach the objective and the ocular or the lens. On the stage condenser, you would see now yung tinatawag na field of view. Ano nga ba yung field of view? Ito yung area or circle that you see when looking through the eyepiece. So ito yung mga nakikita mo once you study under a microscope. So yung mga bilog na yan, just like this one, these are the field of view of a microscope. This time, let us try to compare the powers of magnification. One thing that you should always remember when comparing powers of magnification is that the higher the resolution, the better are the details that you could see. But you would trade kung gaanong karami yung makikita mo dun sa image. So as you can see here, on the two pictures, yung multiplied 7 times, hindi masyadong clear yung image pero mas marami kang nakikitang parts. Whereas on the second picture, you can see here na mas klarado or detalyado yung mukha ng eagle pero konti lang yung nakikita mong parts. So, kung titingnan mo, halimbawa gumamit ka ng 4 times scanning objective, tapos yung kanyang eyepiece naman is 10 times, so yung magnification power ng microscope na yan is 40 times. Another example, halimbawa yung nakalagay na objective is 10 times, tapos 10 times din na eyepiece, so yung magnification power ng microscope na yan is 100 times. And if you have changed your objective again with 40 times objective and same pa rin yung eyepiece na ginamit mo which is on 10 times, so 40 by 10, then that would be 400 times. Ibig sabihin, yung specimen or yung object is kaya niyang palakihin ng 400 times. Now let's proceed to the proper usage of the microscope. The first one is you should always carry the microscope by the base and the arm. So meaning dalawang kamay yung gagamitin mo. Yung isang kamay ay nakalagay sa arm, yung isang kamay naman is nakasupport doon sa base. For safety reasons, dapat yung nakalagay na objective is nasa lowest power lens first. As you can see, siya yung pinakamaliit, as mas maliit yung chance na tumama siya sa glass slide. Number 3, you should also adjust the mirror or adjust your light to let it plenty of light. Since siya yung nagpo-provide ng liwanag, so i-adjust mo siya to make sure na maliwanag yung pag-study mo ng specimen. Number 4, after adjusting the light, you are now going to place the slide on the stage. And after placing the slide and securing it with the stage clip, you can now turn on the course adjusting wheel or adjustment knob until you can see the slide clearly. Then when you can see the slide clearly, you can further get the detail of the image by using now the fine adjustment knob. And lastly, you may now use the higher objective lens, but take care to move the stage slowly so as to avoid the slide touching the lens na pwedeng mag-cause ng pagkabasag ng glass slide. You should also take note of the appearance of the specimen. While studying or using a microscope, you should remember that objects appear upside down and backward. So kung makikita mo, yung image, yung real image is pabaliktad. So, and of course, when you adjust that one, say for example, this one, if you are going to move it to the right, makikita mo that the image is going to the left. And the image is also, or can be seen as upside down while using a microscope. That's it. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell to be updated for the upcoming videos. If you have suggestions or topics that you want to be covered, feel free to drop your comments below. Einsteinatics out. Thank you for watching.